there, soulmates. We finally made it to Friday. It's February 17th. I'm Courtney Hicks. Want to welcome you to FOXSOUL's Black Report, and welcome back, handsome young man.
I'm here. Happy belated birthday, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much, Brandon.
Look, it has been a long week, but I'm glad I'm able to end it with you and everybody in FOXSOUL, our soulmates. Look, I'm Brandon Hudson. A lot of news this week. But we're still following some big headlines today, bringing you the stories that impact our people.
That's right. It's our news, our views, and our voice. So let's get into the conversation today, soulmates, as we start with the 5 former Memphis police officers accused of killing Tyre Nichols. They have pleaded, believe it or not guilty in court today. Nichols died on January 10th, 3 days after he was stopped and beaten by officers. The officers were members of a now disbanded anti-crime unit. Nichols' death has led to a national debate about police training and reform. A total of 6 officers and several other emergency personnel have either been fired or disciplined. And you know what, Brandon? You take a look at that video footage and even the footage that they say hasn't been released, the 20 additional hours, and you go, how in the hell could these officers have the nerve really to plead not guilty? Your thoughts?
You always wonder in these cases, is it the people who are the defendants, or is it their attorneys who are trying to possibly get them a lighter sentence somehow? I think in the court of public opinion, they're guilty.
Yes.
I know in the court of law, though, you're innocent until proven guilty. And those are the two things that we got to separate here. But I will say this. The one thing about this case here is, look, we cover these stories simply because they're supposed to protect and serve everybody, regardless of race, religion, creed, gender. And this is why we cover these stories, because they're failing at their job. Yeah,
but I think this Nichols case is so significant because this isn't a white on black thing. This is a blue thing. And so really it re-stresses the culture, the blue culture, and what needs to be addressed, what needs to be changed. Of course, we've been talking about some cases that are white officer on black suspect, but this changes the game. And I've often said that, maybe there's a different conversation when it's about blue, especially with this being black on black. It really, it took a lot of people aback as to being so dicey to address it.
There's a lot of implicit bias here, and that needs to be discussed in police departments all across the country. All right, so we're going to go now to Pennsylvania, where for at least the 3rd time this year, a 6-year-old has brought a gun to school, and now adults are facing charges. Here's Fox 29's Jennifer Lee with that story.
I come pick her up every day.
Sean Henley's granddaughter attends Gottwalls Elementary, which is grades 1 through 4. She says it's upsetting to learn another student brought a gun to school last week.
Anything could have happened to anybody's children. You just see what happened at that university with them 3 children. For my daughter not to have gotten an email or nothing, I don't know where the notification came in at.
Norristown police say the student who brought the gun is only 6 years old. Detective Stephen Sowell was part of the investigation and says surveillance video shows the frightening show and tell on the school bus.
Even though we know no one got hurt, even though we know that this was a happy ending, that we secured the gun, that there was not a tragedy, watching that video still puts a bad feeling in your stomach.
Police say thankfully a group of students who saw the gun immediately reported their concerns to the secretary when the bus arrived at school, which was then reported to police.
Those young heroes were very key in making sure all the kids in that school stay safe, and also the adults.
According to the criminal complaint, the 6-year-old told police his 10-year-old brother found the gun in his mom's dresser, took the bullets out, and started pointing it at him and pretending to shoot him. The acting chief of Norristown Police says all parents need to practice gun safety.
A child is going to be very curious. They know what guns are. They know what they look like between TV, movies, social media, everything like that. If it's taken apart, you know how to put it together, but a 6 to 7, 8-year-old probably won't.
Police say the boy's mother, Jasmine Devlin, turned herself in on Tuesday. Detectives say the gun was a straw purchase, which means it was illegally transferred after purchase. We stopped by Devlin's home, but she refused to speak with us.
Young people that were on the bus, knowing what they saw didn't belong, and there was something wrong with that, and saying something.
Obviously, their parents have taught them very well.
Your heart drops, but you have to be happy at the same time because no one was hurt, no one was shot. And we deal with this in Detroit all the time, and this happens in a lot of cities all across the country where kids, they find these guns and they go off. Either they shoot them or they trigger them somehow, and we could be talking about someone burying their child.
Yeah, but so many caveats to this. I mean, you know, this mother probably has this gun for protection.
Right.
You can't deny the fact that she obtained it illegally.
Yes.
And then you have to talk about how she has not or did not secure it properly and safely. And so there's those arguments. And then, you know, the idea of, you know, not checking your children. I know you have 3 under 3.
Yes.
And, you know, I'm not a parent, but I have younger siblings and cousins who are like nephews who I raised, and they've never been out of my sight. Or
right.
I've never had a situation where I don't know what was in their book bag when I was responsible for getting them to school. So there's that too. This is really loaded and just a huge conversation that I think needs to continue from so many different aspects. There's so many different failures here.
The unfortunate part is police can't go into everybody's house that has a gun and say, hey, look, are you keeping this safe and away from your kids?
Yeah.
I think it really is up to a lot of our uncles, our aunts, our grandparents to go into these homes and say, hey, look,
extended family.
I know you have a gun, or even neighbors. And say, hey, look, I know you have a gun, but hey, let's make sure that you keep this safe because you got a 6-year-old in the house. We don't want him to find this gun and take it to school, because that's probably the first thing you want to do is you want to show your friends, hey, look, it's a gun. And when you're a kid, you don't really think about all the consequences that come with that.
As a gun owner in that home in particular, you have to stay vigilant with young people around. All right, let's move on here. Federal prosecutors are seeking an additional 25-year sentence for singer R. Kelly for his child pornography and enticement convictions, adding 30 years he's already serving in that New York case that we told you about not too long ago. Now, prosecutors have described Kelly's behavior as, quote, sadistic, and called him a, quote, serial sexual predator with no remorse. Kelly will not be eligible for release until he is around 100 years old, if he makes it to that age. Now, the judge agrees to the 25-year sentence, and another government requests that Kelly begin serving his Chicago sentence only after the New York sentence is fully served. Kelly's sentencing in Chicago is set for next week, and his legal team is appealing his convictions in both New York and Chicago. I think it's a wrap on any chance at freedom. What a fall from grace.
Yeah. What a fall from grace for R. Kelly. And you know what the sad thing about this is? We have been discussing R. Kelly's
demise
for about 20 years now. Like, I remember I was in public speaking class in college back in 2002.
Tell it.
And we were talking about this whole sex tape about R. Kelly, and now, you know, it's finally caught up with him.
You have receipts.
Yeah.
I worked and lived in Chicago for about 12 years, and I just remember the grumblings, and I was astonished at the fact that nobody would say anything. I mean, with him, you know, allegedly being parked outside of high school, soliciting these young. I've heard that for years, and I got to Chicago in the early 90s. So this has been ongoing for a while. With all of this in mind and the talk, and we know he's probably never getting out, even with these appeals. Do you think we've got to a place, Brandon, where it's okay to listen to his music now, for it to be on your playlist? I know radio hasn't gone back to playing his music.
I think it is up to the listener and how much discretion they have. Personally, I can't find myself.
You can't separate the two?
No, I can't. And it's very tough, especially because his stuff is still in the news. I mean, you know, I went through the same thing with a lot of artists. I mean, there's Kanye West, or there was Michael Jackson for a period of time.
Yes.
I think over time, I'd say, you know, time heals all wounds. But in this case, because we are still fresh and talking about this, and it's still ongoing,
I get that.
It's just very tough.
It is difficult because it is their music and their musical genius. It's the soundtrack of our lives in different periods of our lives, and so for some it is very tough to separate the two. I know for others it's like, okay, R. Kelly did this, but I'm still going to enjoy his music.
Right. I get that.
Yeah.
That's understood.
Yeah.
All right, so here's a story I know that you are probably very proud of. The nation's oldest black sorority. They are getting into the banking game. You know, shout out to the sisters at Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. They are announcing the opening for members-only federal credit union, which has said that it aims to help build generational wealth for a lot of black women and promote social justice and, more importantly, uplift communities. Now, the National Credit Union Administration granted the Chicago-based financial services provider a charter this month, and the sorority expects that it will be fully operational by the end of this year. But keep in mind, this credit union will be entirely digital. I have kind of mixed feelings about that part of it.
Okay.
Because there is still a digital divide, and you go to a lot of our communities
that's a good point.
that they don't have
Access.
the technical
Savvy?
abilities to be able, or savvy. And then you still have a lot of, but I hope that they help a lot of, families who don't necessarily have a bank account, and for a lot of them, their bank is their little card and their
That's
ATM,
right.
like those street
That's right.
ATMs.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can reach out to a lot of these families and help them out too.
I think for the younger generation of sorors and maybe mid-generation like myself, I think, the younger generation, all they know is digital. I think for me, I'm early 50s. You can kind of go both ways.
You're still in that young generation.
Thank you, darling.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
But I remember both worlds, if you
Yes.
will, prior to all of technology. My concern would be for the older celebrated
Right.
sorors, the silver members, golden members who
The ones that
might
you
not,
all stand on the shoulders of.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
listen, it's a great program. The International President Danette Anthony Reed rolled this thing out. Folks were excited about it. It's really innovative, and it's going to seek to address financial issues and move that push along. And it's we're the first as far as the ladies are concerned, but Omega Psi Phi and I want to say Phi Beta Sigma back in the mid to late 80s did something of the same as far as opening a credit union. So the sorority is excited about it, and I'm going to join. I can't wait.
This is another way to serve the community.
There you go.
And I think a lot of people don't realize and don't understand, especially that are outside of that Black Greek bubble, is you all serve the community.
We do.
And
We
you're not
do.
just serving
First and foremost.
Your current generation, but you're serving both, past and future generations.
Yeah, this speaks to generational wealth and being
Yes.
able to build and tap into that.
I'm excited.
For sure, yeah.
I got some aunts and some aunties that are
Come on,
AKAs,
Auntie Sorors.
So yeah. There you go.
We love it. All right, one of the most anticipated moments of this weekend's NBA All-Star Game is the three-point contest. Experts are saying, talking about who they think they'll win. They've been talking about that all week. Now, the three-point contest follows the Kia Skills Challenge on All-Star Saturday night. It's happening in Salt Lake City, Utah. Damian Lillard and Jason Tatum headline the event. Buddy Hield of the Indiana Pacers is the leading favorite. And the three-point contest begins Saturday at 8 p.m. That is Eastern Time. Brandy, you're going to have to help me out because I am about 2 generations behind this current day of NBA players.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't know who these brothers are.
Okay.
I mean, give me LeBron and
Yeah.
folks like that and James, but who are these new guys?
Look, so Buddy Hield, he played college at Oklahoma.
Okay.
He's a great shooter. I know he spent some time playing with the Sacramento Kings. He worked in a market like Sacramento that you kind of forget about because Sacramento hasn't really been relevant lately. They get overshadowed by the Warriors. They get overshadowed by Steph Curry and Klay Thompson,
Gotcha.
who are also very accomplished
I know
three-point
those
shooters.
guys.
You know those two because they win championships.
Okay.
But look, Jason Tatum, he is a rising star. I
know
mean, he's
him.
already a star because he helped take the Celtics to the finals this past year. And then Damian Lillard.
I know him.
Out of Weber State.
He had a commercial. That's
He has a
why I said
commercial.
some kind of commercial.
He is. One thing I love about Damian Lillard is because he has that old school mentality of he has been playing for the same team, the Portland Trail Blazers, for his entire career, and he has no intention that we know of leaving because he wants to build something special there, and he's gotten close. But he just needs one more player to help him out.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You know the generations before. We're familiar with those guys who become icons,
Right.
Of the game, very well celebrated. Do you think this new, younger NBA player is going to have that kind of impact, 10, 15 years from now? Or will it depend on if they got rings and how many points have they made, or what do you think?
I think there is more of a balance between how many championships you win and how popular you are on Instagram or TikTok.
Yeah.
And a lot of these players have become a lot more savvy. And I got to give credit to the LeBrons of this generation because even though they've been kind of straddling that generational transition, they have also been there to kind of market themselves and lead the way so the younger generation can come in here. But yeah, I mean, I'm like you though. The older I get, the more removed I get from knowing who these people are.
Thank you for that.
I'm gonna have to rely on my sons when they get old enough, and my
feel so
daughter
bad.
too, to really know who these players are.
Yeah, I don't feel so bad.
Yeah, it's all
right.
good. All right, so the NAACP. They're calling for urgent action to stop the spread of white supremacist violence following this week's sentencing of the Buffalo supermarket shooter. Now, this call is coming from NAACP President Derek Johnson, who says that nothing has been done to prevent a tragedy like the Buffalo supermarket shooting. Now, Johnson wants increased awareness and education to help communities identify and address the signs of radicalization. Johnson says that the sad reality is that the black community lives under the constant threat of violence. And that is very true. You can underline that 3, 4, 5 times.
Absolutely. Because
not only do we deal with violence within our own communities over just petty stuff, but we deal with other people of other races who are, for lack of a better term, they're jealous of success or
progress,
just whatever.
Creativity.
Yes.
Athleticism.
Influence. We can go on and on.
We can go on and on.
But no, this is very true. And it really stuck with me yesterday when I saw the shooter, cry in the courthouse and say he was sorry, because it's too late now. You can't bring those lives back.
It's too late, and we got to talking about that yesterday with your coworker Josh Landon, and how the tears are just not enough.
Right.
I don't think people or folks in Buffalo, and I was just saying, I don't live in the city. I'm outside of that community, and I'm not ready for an apology just yet.
Right.
I don't see the tears as being sincere. As a matter of fact, at the court hearing, when the victims' families were able to address the perpetrator there was even a nephew of one of the victims who charged at him. So that tells you how angry folks still are, and how they're still trying to work just to get to healing and get past those feelings of anger. This young man was very intentional. He cased this city out. He cased, this store out, and folks aren't just ready for this apology just yet.
No.
Not at all. All right, let's move on here. The FBI has agreed to review 2 recent deaths inside the Harris County Jail. Sheriff Ed Gonzalez says he made the request to maintain public transparency. Last month, Jacoby Pillow was in the process of being released on bond when authorities say he got into a fight with jail workers and then was found dead the next morning. Pillow's case, now one of 2 deaths at the Harris County Jail, under review by the FBI. The family's attorney now making a formal request to the Justice Department to launch an investigation. The family of Donovan Lewis is seeking accountability after he was shot by an officer while in his bed. Police body cam footage shows Donovan Lewis being shot once in the abdomen less than a second after an officer opened his bedroom door. Lewis appeared to be holding a vape pen, but no weapon. Columbus police said officers had to arrest Lewis on multiple warrants, including domestic violence, assault, and felony improper handling of a firearm. No weapon, though, was found in his home. And here we are yet again with another story. It speaks to probably racial profiling. It speaks to that blue culture. It also speaks to, judge, jury, executioner, all, in one swoop without there being, due process, and the propensity to shoot, and we know, through time, these cases have turned out pretty tragic, with loss of life or limb. We did a story just the other day where an officer shot a suspect in the mouth. He can no longer talk because he has no tongue. And so, this is critical. And I don't know where you start with how we go about changing this blue culture. I know it's with the politicking and the policing, but someone from the inside, the politicians, the chiefs, the captains,
someone with
the
connections
sergeants,
needs to speak up.
They have to speak up, and they have to press down on this culture.
It's very tough, because one of the reasons we always talk about this is because we don't often see this in other neighborhoods. We're not seeing this a lot in white neighborhoods.
Bingo.
And I know it's holding a vape pen, but there's better ways to handle this.
That's right.
And when you hear about a shoot first and then be like, okay, like that needs to stop.
Yeah, but you think about
period.
some of the other cases where there have been mass shootings and just destruction and loss of life. I remember suspects being offered cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
I remember suspects being, apprehended unharmed and without incident.
We just talked about the Buffalo shooter. He is alive today after shooting
about 10 victims.
Yeah, 10 black victims, by the way.
Yeah. Alive and well.
Yeah.
Indeed. The young man who in the, he was the young 19 man in the protests.
Yeah.
Who was walking around with the assault
in
rifle.
Milwaukee.
Yeah. He was peacefully apprehended.
Right.
He was walking around with an assault rifle, shooting protesters. So, you know, there's
examples. There are clear examples.
Absolutely.
And it's still surprising that this is still happening over a vape pen.
That's right.
All right, so talking about Buffalo, we're going to talk about Buffalo Bills safety Demar Hamlin. He is apologizing after receiving some criticism for the jacket that he wore during the Super Bowl. Now, we have this picture here. We'll have you take a look. That's him walking around the Super Bowl. You get a small glimpse of his jacket, but Hamlin appeared during a pregame event honoring him alongside the first responders who saved his life when he went into cardiac arrest during a game in January. The 24-year-old was wearing a jacket with the abstract image of Jesus on the back with the word eternal above it. Now on the front, there was another image of Jesus and the phrase, quote, without end and without beginning. Now there is no day and there is no night. Several have called the jacket disrespectful, and former running back Adrian Peterson even called it blasphemous. Hamlin said that he never intended to offend anyone. He says it was just abstract art to him, and it was intended as a tribute to his Savior. Now, we are celebrating Black History Month here on the Black Report. I want to introduce you to, actually, we're going to talk about this real quick. Do we have time to talk about this? Or are we going to go on to the next
I would
story?
love to have a conversation.
Okay.
Maybe we can get to a two-shot here and talk about Hamlin, especially since the video here is still rolling. Look, in this day and age of NFTs and interpretive art and digital art, whether you like it or not, I think people have the right and the artistic license to express the way they want to express. And at this point, we know Hamlin's heart. Right. I mean, you know, listen, this man pretty much lost his life on the football field. So I don't think he would purposely or intentionally show up to offend anybody. And again, with this Gen Z millennial generation really getting into, you know, the NFTs and how things are displayed artistically, I think this kind of falls under that.
All right, couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, all righty. So now we're celebrating Black History Month here on the Black Report, and we want to introduce you to Rosie Grow. Rosie has gone viral for her impersonations of icons in the Black community, and this year she has more in store. Fox 2's Detroit's Camille Amari has this story. Should have been.
Right. She's got a knack for impersonating celebrities.
I am a girl from Chicago South Side.
From Tina Turner.
Rolling down the river.
To Serena Williams.
I play professional tennis. My sister's name is Venus. Her play tennis too.
6-year-old Rosie is at it again this February.
And although I had 24 wins and no losses, and I had 21 knockouts. I mean, Layla Ali would say the greatest boxers in history. Or, greatest boxers.
For what, girls? Yeah, she was one of the greatest girl boxers in all time.
Rosie and her mom, Kenya, make videos throughout the year, but they put a special emphasis on February, which of course is Black History Month.
I didn't want to teach her the trauma of Black history that I was taught as a kid her age. I wanted her to learn about women and inventors, something that she can reflect on and say, hey, I can do that. I can be her. I can be just like her.
This February, in addition to doing videos about famous Black women, Rosie is doing quick video history lessons about famous Black inventors.
Hi, my name is Rosie, and today we're going to be learning about George Crumb.
From the wigs to the costumes, the attention to detail is phenomenal.
Okay, so that noise is a breathing technique for boxers so they won't run out of breath. My son actually used to box when he was little. So he's like, if she's going to do a Layla video, she has to learn that noise. So we're like, what's the noise? And he's like, kss, kss, kss.
The videos are cute, educational, and memorable, often capturing the attention of the very person Rosie is honoring.
I am comedian, author, actress, and TV personality.
I thought it was fantastic. I think you're fantastic. You sound like me. You look like me. You got the lipstick. I think, maybe you need to be doing the show, but maybe you have to finish going to school first.
When the first grader isn't making videos, she's busy perfecting her hula hoop skills and belting out her favorite tunes.
This girl is on fire.
And she most certainly is. Rosie and her mom are posting videos every Monday and Thursday throughout the month of February on Instagram. You can follow them at GoRosieGrow. Camille and Mary, Fox 2 News.
Oh, Miss Rosie, I love it. I remember first following her maybe about a Black History Month or so ago.
Yeah.
She's getting big.
Yeah, you know, this is great because not only does she learn outside the classroom, but she's learning about some very influential people.
That's right.
And it's great to see that shout out from Whoopi Goldberg.
I was going to say, when you get to the point where it catches the actual person's attention, you're doing something.
Yeah, she is.
Amazing.
Keep doing it, Rosie.
Thank you, Miss Rosie.
Yeah.
All right, a Black-owned company inks a multi-million-dollar deal in Texas doing something most Black companies don't get a chance to do.
And the latest city talking reparations for Black residents, what it will take to make that happen.
You're watching Fox Soul's Black Report. We'll be right back.